Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. This is me, Sidra Khalil, your course instructor. And you know very well that the name of my subject is a modern novel. And today we are going to discuss about the different themes of the novel. Can you please guess the name of the novel that what we have done in previous week? So actually it is basically the name of the novel is Heart of Darkness, and it has been written by Joseph Conrad. And today we are going to discuss the different themes of the novel. And the very first I am going to start with the theme of colonialism or colonization. So Conrad's Heart of Darkness. In this novel, Heart of Darkness, Joseph Conrad explores the theme of colonization and imperialism, presenting a critical view of European colonialism in Congo during the late 19th century. This novel actually highlights the hypocrisy and brutality behind the rhetoric of civilizing missions, exposing the destructive nature of imperialism for both the colonizers and the colonized. So this is actually a tussle between, there is a war between colonizers and colonized. The hypocrisy of imperialism is what? It is actually in Heart of Darkness. This novel explores the issues surrounding imperialism in complicated ways. As Marlowe, we know very well that he is a main character of the novel. He travels from the outer station to the central station and finally up the river to the inner station, and over there he encounters scenes of torture, cruelty and near slavery. At the very least, the incidental scenery of the book offers a harsh picture of colonial enterprise. The impetus behind Marlowe's adventures too has to do with the hypocrisy inherent in the rhetoric used to justify imperialism. Actually, the men who work for the company describe what they do as trade. They are doing trading over there, the trading of ivory, and their treatment of native African is a part of benevolent project of civilization. This is the motto by the Europeans, that they are saying that we are over there to civilize them. So actually, it is not, basically they are not over there to civilize them, they are actually over there to rule on them. It is sometimes it is a partial control, sometimes it is a fully control by the colonizers on the colonized. So another main character, if you remember student, that is the Kurds. So they are the two main characters that we have already discussed in our previous lecture. The number one is Marlowe and number two is the Kurds. Kurds on the other hand is open about the fact that he does not trade but rather takes ivory by force, and he describes his own treatment of the natives with the words suppression and extermination. So these are the words that has been used by the character Kurds. He does not hide the fact that he rules through violence and intimidation. His preserved honesty leads to his downfall, as his success threatens to expose the evil practices behind European activity in Africa. So there are the different scenes in the novel that we have already discussed and we have already read in previous lectures. However, for Marlowe, as much as for the Kurds or for the company, Africans in this book are mostly, they are treating like an object. So this thing we can say they are not like treating like a human, they are treating like they are objects. Marlowe refers to his helmsman as a piece of machinery, and Kurt's African mistress is at best a piece of statuary. So next theme is that we are discussing about the theme of madness. Before that, we discussed the theme of colonialism in the Heart of Darkness novel. So madness as actually is as a result of imperialism. Madness is closely linked to imperialism in this book. Africa is responsible for mental disintegration as well as physical illness. So madness is not a simple thing. It has two primary functions. First, it serves as an ironic device to engage the reader's sympathies. Next, Kurt's Marlowe is told from the beginning is mad. However, as Marlowe and the readers and the narrator, they begin to form a more complete picture of Kurt's, it becomes apparent that his madness is only relative. That in the context of the company, insanity is difficult to define. Thus, both Marlowe and the reader begin to sympathize with Kurtz and view the company with suspicion. So, there is a different views about the readers and about the main characters of the novel. So, madness also functions to establish the necessity of social fictions. Although social modes and explanatory justifications are shown throughout the novel Heart of Darkness to be utterly false and even leading to evil. They are nevertheless necessary for both group harmony and individual security. So theme of colonialism actually is what? It is colonialism is a central theme in Joseph Conrad's novel Heart of Darkness, as I told you earlier. It has been set in the late 19th century. The novel explores the destructive nature of the Europeans, destructive effects of European imperialism on Africans in Africa. They are also focusing on the journey of a European protagonist, the named Marlowe. We are already familiar with this name, into the heart of Congo River Basin, that is in the heart of the Africa. Through his portrayal of the brutal and exploitative practices of colonialism, Conrad offers a powerful critique of the destructive impact of imperialism on both the colonizers and the colonized. The novel actually depicts the complex and often messy nature of the Europeans, even of the messy nature of the colonialism as well. And also it is highlighting the themes of power, domination, cultural identity and moral corruption. So students, I hope so that you will also work on these key terms, these main ideas, the main themes of the novel, and you will explore more and more about this novel, and you will work on these themes like moral corruption, the power, domination. These are the major things that has been discussed, that has been portrayed by Conrad in his novel. So Conrad's portrayal of colonialism has been the subject of much debate and controversy, with some critics arguing that the novel perpetuates negative stereotypes of African people, while others see it as a powerful critique of imperialism and condemnation of the destructive effects or the evil effects of colonialism. There are a lot of aspects of colonialism in this novel. Another significant aspect of colonialism in the novel is the idea of civilization. The European colonizers see themselves as bringing civilization to the uncivilized persons, to the dark and primitive African continent. But in reality, they are not civilizing them. They are actually imposing their rules, imposing their culture, imposing their language on them. And they are imposing their own narrow and rigid ideas of civilization on the native population. This process leads to a loss of cultural identity of these native lands and a sense of alienation among the African people who are forced to adopt European ways of life. One of the key ways in which colonialism is depicted in the novel is through the idea of white man's burden, which was actually a concept that justified the idea of European imperialism by arguing that it was the duty of the civilized European nations. So they are portraying this kind of an image to the readers to bring enlightenment and the progress to the uncivilized people of the Africa. Not just Africa, even all over the world as well. So this is the concept of the colonizers. They are imposing on the colonizers. This concept is presented in the novel through the character of the pilgrims, who, if you read the summary of the novel, you know very well that the role of pilgrims, who are European colonizers, that they believe they are the bringing civilization to the Africa, but in reality, they are actually participating in the brutal and exploitative practices of colonialism. Another way in which colonialism is depicting the novel is through the language and imagery used to describe Africa and its people. Actually, the whole continent, the continent of Africa, is frequently portrayed as a dark. As title suggests, title is also significant in this perspective, and mysterious place that has been inhabited by the savage and primitive peoples. This language and imagery reinforces negative stereotypes of African people, and it also serves to justify the exploitative practices of the European colonizers. Moreover, colonialism in Heart of Darkness is linked to the larger historical context of European imperialism in the late 19th century that has been started in the late 19th century, and it has been ended till our Pakistani's partition time. In this sense, the novel can be seen as commentary on the broader historical forces that shaped the colonial enterprise in Africa. Another significant aspect of colonialism in the novel is the idea of power and domination. So the European colonizers are depicted as being obsessed with power and domination, and this obsession leads to the brutal and inhumane treatment of African natives. This theme is also, we can say, there are a lot of instances in the text that you can discuss all these things, but there is an example of the character of the Kurtz who becomes increasingly consumed by his desire for power, by his desire for domination and control as he descends into madness. Additionally, colonialism in Heart of Darkness is linked to the idea of cultural identity. The European colonizers, they seek to impose their own culture and way of life on the African natives, leading to a loss of cultural identity and a sense of alienation among the native population. So, in the whole context, the Marlowe stories in Heart of Darkness take place in the Belgian Congo, the most notorious European colony in Africa because of the Belgian colonizers' immense greed and brutal treatment of the native people. In this depiction, in all of this depiction of the monstrous wastefulness and the casual cruelty of the colonial agents towards the African natives, Heart of Darkness reveals the utter hypocrisy of the entire colonial effort by the Europeans. In Europe, colonization of Africa was justified on the grounds that not only would it bring wealth to Europe, they are giving economically strong to them, they are making them economically strong, they are making them civilized. It would also civilize and educate the savages, African natives. Heart of Darkness shows that in practice, the European colonizers used the high ideals of colonization as a cover to allow them to viciously rip whatever wealth they could from Africa. Unlike most novels that focus on the evils of colonialism, actually the novel is The Heart of Darkness that pays more attention to the damage that colonization does to the souls of white colonizers than it does to the physical death and devastation unleashed on the black natives. Though this focus on the white colonizers makes the novella somewhat unbalanced, it does allow Heart of Darkness to extend its criticism of colonialism all the way back to its corrupt source, the civilization of Europe. That is basically, they are justifying their whole things in this way. So, in today's lecture, dear students, you know very well that we have done two things major concept. First of all, we have done the theme of colonization, then we have discussed the theme of madness, theme of power, theme of domination, and we also related all these things with the text, the main characters, the main incidents of the novel that are relating to this thing. So now what you have to do, you have to explore more and more relevant themes of the novel, and you have to understand, you have to broaden your view regarding all the things that are commonly present in the text. So this is all about today's lecture. Thank you so much, students, for listening me. Allah Hafiz, stay blessed. We will meet in next lecture.